We're doing it. Nicole, thank you so fucking much for doing this.
That's okay.
I know you've travelled from Brisbane and you've taken the time out of your morning from Brisbane on the Gold Coast. It's 8 a.m. here and yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Well, we've been meaning to do it for a while.
For ages.
Yeah.
So again, thank you. And
It's
with
okay.
you, there is so much I want to talk about today.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. So I think for my audience, I think a few of my audience know who you are already, but for the people that don't know you and your story, I think I want to sort of do a story. Like I want to give a bit of context into who you are. So if you want to just tell, like, well, first of all, you've done a lot of ultras. You've done 200 Ks, the Backyard Ultra, and no right-minded human just goes in and does 200 Ks. So there's definitely an arc there.
Yep.
So where does this story set off? Because you don't just go, oh, I did a 5K and then go, okay, I'm going to do a 200K.
Right.
So
well, so background to who I am today. I'm a few things. I'm a lawyer. I'm a mum. Ultra runner, as you said. I'm a Brisbane community ambassador for Running Mums Australia, who a lot of your listeners would be aware of Running Mums Australia. Founder of BYU Australia. And I guess
Wait, you're the founder of that?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's my little passion project.
I didn't know that was you. I thought you were just like pushing that.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just my little baby. Like it's just something I do for fun on the side with all my time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, audience, I should have done my homework. So.
That's okay. We'll learn all about it.
Cool.
But yeah, obviously I wasn't always these things. So which we'll delve into how I became those things. Yeah.
So like getting into the sort of running side of things, like I guess everyone knows my story that I'm in recovery.
Yep.
I found running as my sort of way out.
Yep.
So, you know, for you, like, what was your first race that sort of made you go, was there a race that made you go, okay, this is something I want to do? Because again, you don't just go the distance.
No, you don't. You don't wake up and say, I'm just going to run for 30 hours. So I guess it all sort of goes back to my why. So obviously yours was or is alcoholism. For me, it's the loss of my child. So it all sort of stemmed from there. And I'm sure we'll delve into all of that. But my first run, so I have always sort of done little bits of running here and there throughout life, but never a race. And then in 2015, my sister-in-law made me go to a park run. So New Farm Park Run, and I'd never really run for 5K. So I walked half of it. And it sucked. So that was out at New Farm. And then one of my best friends, Gemma, she was into triathlon and that kind of thing. She said, come and do Bridge to Brisbane, 10K. And I just thought it was ridiculous. It's like, who runs 10K? That's just dumb. But I did, and I trained for it. So I think that was 2016. So I trained for that, and I ran the 10K, and I crossed the finish line, and I just thought, this is fucking amazing. Like, I feel so good. Like, I set this goal, and I worked for it, and then I did it. So, and I guess that kickstarted that whole mindset of goal setting. And then one night we were sitting around, all the girls and I, just drinking. You know, sorry.
No, that's all right.
You know, having a girls' night, and we were talking about our bucket list items. And so Gemma said she wanted to go to New York. That was her bucket list item. And I said, well, I want to run a marathon. And so we were like, well, let's just like put those things together and let's run the New York Marathon. So we did, and we booked it. And so that was my first marathon, New York, 2016. And
it's
then
funny, like with that, like they go, oh, you know, weed is the gateway drug, but with this, it's like
it is.
a 5K.
Yeah, don't go to park run, guys. Bad news.
Don't go to park run.
Don't do it.
Or you'll go run 200 Ks.
Yeah, next thing you'll be in a cow paddock running in circles. So went and did New York Marathon. It was fucking amazing. Like, you run through all 5 boroughs of New York. You start on Staten Island. And just the atmosphere, like it's a huge thing for all New Yorkers of all walks of life. They're all out there cheering you on.
Yeah, the streets are lined,
Yeah, like 10, 20 people deep, just cheering the whole way. And as you get into every borough, the difference is really significant. So as you like cross a little bridge and go into the Bronx, suddenly the music that's playing on the side of the street is different. The way that people dress is different to Manhattan, and like it's a really great way to see that place. So highly recommend it. And then I got this idea that I would do all of the world majors to get the 6-star medal. So then we did Tokyo. No, we were booked in to do Tokyo. We didn't quite get there because of COVID. So we did Chicago next in 2020, Gemma and I. And then in 2022, we were booked to do Tokyo, but COVID. But how did I get into ultras? So after New York, I came home, so 2016, and GC50 was on just a few weeks later. Oh, my God. That's a hot race.
That does not tickle my fancy one bit, because it's
You did it?
No, like because they run out the front of my mum or parents' house. You know, it's 12 and a half up, 12 and a half back, 12 and a half up, 12. It's like, no, thank you.
It's and it's really hot.
Yeah.
So I did that one because I thought I've already got the training behind me. So then, tick 50K ultra. And then in 2018, I wanted to do 100K just to see. I wanted to know if I could do it. So that was GC 100. So that's on road, and it's laps as well. You just do all these laps.
Where is that?
I'm not even sure if they do that race anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was raising money for Crohn's and Colitis Australia for that one. And that's just where the love of long distance came. I ran that race and I fell in love with it. I was like, long distance, this is mine. This is what I've got to do with my life. So I don't really try and run fast anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Like for me, you know, like the 5Ks, the real fast 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathon, like
that's tough.
That I think, to be honest, I think that's harder.
I agree.
Than doing 100K.
Yep. Like, I always say I'd rather go run 100K, plot it, than do a fast 5K. And
then like with your Strava, you can sort of if you do a really slow run, everyone goes, "Oh, it's a slow burn. They're an ultra runner, so you feel good about yourself."
And plus, I'm getting old, you know.
Oh, so with the 100K, like what times are you doing? Like you train for this?
I did train for that one. So that was back in 2018. And I was training under Ben Farley at the time. He's a tri coach now. And yeah, we trained really well. We worked really hard for it. And I did surprise myself. Like I wanted to go, I think I could do a lot better now with all the experience I've had now. But for where I was at the time, I did a sub 11. Yeah.
So that's what, like just over 6 minute Ks.
Yeah. So I was really happy with that. Like
I would be very happy with that.
Yeah. So obviously I have a goal of if I was going to do 100 again, I'd like to try and go a sub 10. That's on the cards one day.
One day.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
So to sort of, I don't know, I want to dive into it now. It's a mindset thing, you know, and I'll sort of want to go back and go forward with this. You mentioned that, you know, briefly that you lost your child who was Max.
Yep.
How, you know, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of ever not having my child.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate something so horrendous?
It's just one of those things where you don't get a choice. Like it's happening, so you just have to roll with it, and the only way is through it. Like you can't dodge it. And some people have heard this story, but for those who haven't, so Max was my first child. So in 2010, I was pregnant with Max. And firstly, our 12-week scan, and you would have been through all of this with your wife. At our 12-week scan, they thought there was something wrong with him, like he might have a chromosomal defect. So they did an amniocentesis, which is they check the amniotic fluid, they do a biopsy of it. So with this big ass needle straight in, to get descriptive. But yeah, that came back fine. His chromosomes were perfect, and they were like, excellent, you can go on and have a happy pregnancy. And then it was at the 20-week scan, the morphology scan, where they would measure everything. They got to his heart and they were just stuck on the heart, and which I thought was weird. They said there is definitely something wrong with the heart, but he's just too little to actually know. Come back in 6 weeks. So I had to go home and then for 6 weeks think, well, something's wrong with my baby. And anyway, we went back at 26 weeks and they did more scans, and that's where they properly diagnosed him in the womb. So he was diagnosed with hyperplastic left heart syndrome. And so we went and they sat us down in a room with a neonatal heart surgeon, and he just basically said, you've got 3 choices today. So you can decide if you terminate. So we were 26 weeks. So to terminate would mean they would have to write their report in such a way that a court would allow us to terminate. The second option was wait for him to be born, get flown by helicopter to Melbourne, where they have the best surgeons, neonatal heart surgeons in Australia. And then he could have 3 open heart surgeries in the first year of his life, and he would still only be palliative. So it would just be to keep him alive for as long as it took to get a heart transplant. And they said the chances of getting a heart transplant for your child are pretty much 0%. So that was door number 2. And then option 3 was just to, go through the pregnancy as normal, have him, and if we're lucky, we might get 2 weeks with him and he will pass away at home. So we were sitting there that day, and basically the doctor just said to us, here's your 3 options of how you can choose for your son to die. Which one would you like to choose? So we went home and we thought about it, and we decided we'd go with option 3. So I then had to endure a pregnancy knowing that my son was going to die. I was growing him for him to die. And you've been through it all. You've had kids, and obviously when you're wife and you leave your home, people are drawn to pregnant women. Like, it's an exciting time in people's lives. And so strangers come up and they're like, oh, congratulations, what are you having? Is it your first? And at first I would be like, oh no, he's really sick, he's going to die. But then to see their reaction, I got really sick of seeing the sadness. I didn't want to bring sadness to people. So then when people would ask, I just started to just fake it and play along with it and go, first, we're really excited, and all the while most people would be, making a nursery at home, I was planning my child's funeral. So that was my introduction to motherhood. So at 33 weeks, Max came naturally. He came early, which in retrospect, I am glad, because it was a certain kind of hell, as you can imagine. And when we got to the hospital, because he was early and they properly hadn't looked at my, all my information, they were like, oh, we've got to keep him in. We've got to do everything to keep him in, or he'll have issues. And I just kept saying to the nurses, no, he's going to die. It's okay. We don't have to keep him in. And anyway, then they realised after they read everything. And so he was born, and I didn't get to hold him. He went straight onto life support. And that's where he was for 2 days in the neonatal ICU. And then on day 2, because they were trying to see if there was anything they could do to keep him alive. And when they said there was nothing, they said, what do you want to do? And I said, let's take him off life support and let's just hug the shit out of him. Let's just cuddle him. And so that's what we did. They brought him up to our hospital room and we cuddled the shit out of him. We gave him a little bath and put some cute little clothes on him, and a lot of my family came up, and my close friends, and we had him baptized. So the priest came to our room, and he was with us till the next day, and he passed away in my arms. And it was
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Have you even had coffee yet?
Oh man.
But so it's it was an experience. So when we were leaving the hospital, obviously most new mothers are walking out with their new little bundle of joy. I walked out with a blanket that had and it was at my request. I said to them, I want everything that he's wearing, everything, his nappy, everything. Give me some of his hair. I want it. So they wrapped it all up in the blanket that he was wearing. And that's what I carried out instead of my baby. And I remember walking out because life is still going on around you, like so normally. And I just remember looking at everyone thinking, you fucking assholes. Like, don't you know what just happened? Like, my baby just died and you're just going on with life. I was like, there was just this internal like anger. And then we just went home, and I just remember laying on my bed, and I don't even know for how long, just in this, I don't know, weird dream. So that was my introduction to motherhood. And it took a really long time. Like you have to decide, am I going to be the person who stays down, or am I going to be the person who gets up? And I guess that's where my ultra mentality comes from. Like, it stems from those moments of making the choice. Like, I remember thinking at one point, I don't want to be defined as the woman who lost her child. I want to be defined as the woman who got up and did something. And so that's what I did. And that's what running brought to me. It showed me how to get up. And like now to such a traumatic point of and that's why I think the Backyard Ultra is so such a special format to me, because the whole concept is to get up every lap. So yeah.
She's got a
sorry.
No, because I've got kids, and they're a fucking handful.
They really are.
But
I've got two now.
Yeah. And see, you've got two gorgeous kids, and they're fucking pain in the ass sometimes.
They are.
But
some days I want to throw them away.
Yeah.
But you love them, right?
It's that connection you have with them, and for you to go through that, I could not fucking imagine. I couldn't. I really, really couldn't. And you explaining that now, I'm like picturing it in my head how it would have been for me to leave without a child, and I just couldn't.
It's devastating.
So sort of going. I don't want to dwell there too much. I do want to get into the ultra stuff, but for the women out there that have gone through that, that dark place that you went to.
Yep.
What did that look like? That the not the day after, but the weeks after, and then you're talking about that mindset of, I'm not going to be defined by this. I want to be defined by the woman that got up, but it doesn't happen like
it doesn't. And grief is a funny thing. So I'm not cured from my grief. I never will be. It's always there. But and I describe it as it's like waves in the ocean. At first, the waves are really high. They're really high and they're constant, and they're just beating at you, just one after the other. And then as time goes on, the waves are smaller and there's less of them, but they still come. Like, there'll be a moment, usually around his birthday, where the wave comes and knocks me. But I know the wave passes.
So and getting into that sort of ultra scene, and I think it comes back down to mindset and like, especially with the Backyard Ultra. So for those that don't know, the Backyard Ultra is a 6.7 kilometer loop that you run every hour on the hour. So when you're getting back, like, first of all, let's go into your 200.
Yeah.
Did you go back to that dark place? Not go back there, but did you use that to sort of pave the path to 30 hours?
When I talk about my 30 hours at Dead Cow Gully, I never went to a dark place in that race. I ran so happy the whole time. But I can't explain why. I just felt really good. I was physically fit. I felt mentally fit. It's a beautiful place to run. So it all just came together. You know those races where everything just comes together?
No.
No,
I haven't.
Not yet.
Not yet. I guess I haven't really trained. Like even people went like about the 48-hour race I did.
Yeah.
They're like, you did really well. I didn't. I felt my body physically fell apart at like 28 hours.
Yeah.
Like
I remember I turned up and you were like, this is fucked.
No, but it was a good fucked. It was good, but my body physically wasn't my head. My head was in it. It was my Achilles. I could not run. So So okay, what's a race that you were in the pain cave and you had to draw on certain things, such as that experience?
Yeah. Look, there's been races, but where I haven't pushed through in a Backyard Ultra, like Clint Eastwood last year, I pulled up at 17 hours. I'd been in hospital that week. I was on antibiotics and everything. I just wasn't feeling great. And I just couldn't mentally get there. So I just pulled out. And at Dead Cow Gully this year, so I've got a tear in my plantar at the moment. And so I pulled out I started lap 9. But I guess, that's different. I wasn't fighting mentally. That was making a conscious decision not to push through an injury, which I think is a really important thing to be able to do. But mentally, I enjoy going, I call it the rabbit hole, going into that really dark place. It's like I get a real satisfaction. Going into a mentally difficult place. It's like I want to test myself mentally. And I often say, like, if Max didn't break me, that experience didn't break me, I want to know what will. So I am deliberately trying to mentally break myself. I didn't get to do that at the 30 hours at Dead Cow Gully. Had I kept going, I would have gotten into that really dark mental place. And I regret not doing that. I really do. A couple of days after that race, I regretted stopping.
Why did you stop?
Well, I kind of felt satisfied.
And that's okay though. Like,
like I got the female course record at the time, and I just felt, and that kind of the switch went off then, like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. We're done. And that's why in Backyard Ultras we should never have a goal or a line, or because that switch does go off.
It's a tricky one with like the Backyard Ultra, because it's a mixture of speed, like a certain amount of speed, certain amount of rest, and then you go again. Yeah. So like I haven't done one yet. I've apparently.
Have you not done one?
No.
Oh.
No, I've tried to get out there, but I finally, shout out to Tim, because Tim came up to the restaurant.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he wrote he goes, I've got a present for you. And he wrote DCG 2024 free ticket. So I've got a free ticket.
I think you should do one. I mean, there's several around. So I'm doing my next race. I'm going to do the teams event by AAA Racing in October, which is the Backyard Ultra. It's the only team event across Australia, actually. There's an individual winner and a team winner. You accumulate your laps. And then I'm going to do Smurf's Backyard Ultra in Cairns on the 31st of October.
That's like, this is something I want to change gears here a bit. That's so much. Like, I can barely fit in races as it is. Like, I have to plan my fucking life.
Yeah.
And I know, like, you've got 2 kids. So when we spoke last year, you've got 2 kids. You were training for ultras. You were studying at the time. Full-time work. How?
Yeah. So
like that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
And I think for me being a dad, it's somewhat easier for me to do things where you as a mother, it's a completely different ball game there.
Yeah. Yeah. At that time you're talking about, I was working full time. I was studying law full time. Yeah. And then in the last 6 months of that, I was also doing my graduate diploma of legal practice full time. And running ultras. But the reason I was doing all of that is because, so when my marriage broke down in 2016, at that time I was working part-time in a job where I had reached my earning capacity. I was looking after the kids while my husband had furthered his career and, now has a really incredible earning capacity. And then suddenly I was separated and I was struggling. I had nothing. And this is more of where that mentality comes from, of if you want something, you have to go and get it. So I decided to do something about it. So I did it all at once. So I had to work full time, obviously, to, support my children and I. And then I'd get home, and then once the kids went to bed, then I would start studying law because I wanted, well, I enjoy law, number one, but I wanted to increase my earning capacity. I wanted more. So I didn't sit there and wait for it to come to me. I made it happen.
But like the balance, like, I guess if you want it enough, you'll do it.
That's it. Yeah. And I have that quote on my fridge, and it's been there for several years. If you want something bad enough, you won't stop until you get it. I see it every day.
And I think I've told you this a lot. Like, I genuinely think, out of, other than my beautiful wife, I honestly think you, and there's only there's a specific breed of person that can do that.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. Like, you're an amazing woman. Like, not just being a mother, but everything involved in that. Like, you're doing that. And as you said, it's something, you need to want to do it.
Yeah.
You're not doing it to prove it to anybody else. You're doing it for you.
Yeah.
And like, look at what you're fucking doing.
Yeah. I'm pretty proud. I'm not ashamed to admit pride because I've worked hard.
But you're allowed to be. Like, really, with the job I've got at the moment, I've worked really fucking hard for that restaurant.
Yeah.
To get it up and running, So when I'm a bit excited that it's busy or we're getting good reviews, I tell the world.
Yeah.
And, some of my mates, but some of my mates are going, oh, you sound like you're cocky. And it's like, no, I've worked hard.
Yeah.
That's why we post on Instagram the massive run we did. To other people who aren't in the community, they might see it and they go, oh, here we go, fucking, they've just done another run. But it's no, like, you've worked so hard for that result and you achieved it. Tell the world, so be proud.
Yeah. And also, after I do a post like what you're just talking about, I'll have several women privately message me, some who I don't even know, just saying, thank you. I got up this morning and I did my first run because of you. Or,
like this is where I want to get into the sort of mum, especially running mums. And there's a lot of, especially on social media, there's a lot going around of the runners' bodies and so how do you to me, I don't look like a runner. People go, but you run, so you're a runner.
Yeah.
And I know especially with new mums, especially just coming out of a pregnancy, they've still got that, the baby weight and that. Yeah. So what's your message to those women out there that, the self-esteem isn't there. They've just gotten back into it. It's hard.
Yep, it is hard. And I don't think our success should be measured at all on our bodies. I think it should be more about what our body can do for us.
I like that.
Well, it's true, right? It's not about how we look. I mean, sometimes I think I don't look like a runner when if you look at people like Genevieve Lacaze and that kind of thing, these women are elite athletes. But I know what I can achieve. I know what this body does for me. And I think that's what's important. Yeah.
So what's next?
What's next is, so I'm doing a 24-hour charity run for Small Steps for Henna. So the run group that I'm in, Run with Rob, it's a charity-based run group. So it doesn't make any money that people pay for coaching or anything like that, merchandise, it all goes to charity. And right now that charity is Small Steps for Henna. And so that's why I'm doing this run. It's up and down the Sandgate foreshore on the 1st of September. And yeah, I'm just asking people to donate. We've had some wonderful prizes donated. Horizon is one of them.
I would know that place.
Yeah, you might have been there once or twice. So yeah, anyone who donates goes into the draw to win prizes. There's a Run the World prize, Sands Social prize, and I am getting people to purchase laps of the foreshore with me. So just make a donation, come run a lap, and then we're going to finish at Sandgate Park Run on the Saturday the 2nd.
Sub 20 minutes.
I was going to say I might go for a park run PB or not. Wear pink, come along. And for those who don't know, obviously Small Steps for Henna, anyone probably in Queensland would have heard of Hannah Clark and her 3 children who were horrifically murdered. And so her parents then went on to create Small Steps for Henna, which they advocate against domestic violence and coercive control. And they've just actually in the last couple of weeks opened a new home. So there's 9 homes in this complex. I believe it's 9. And Small Steps for Henna has furnished it, and they provide social services and everything for people who go and need somewhere to stay to escape. So that's really exciting. And they've done great work in making coercive control a criminal act. So for those who don't know coercive control, obviously if you've been in an intimate relationship with someone, they don't have to physically hit you. There are other types of abuse, and that could be in the form of online abuse, all sorts of things, just taking your power basically. So yeah, they've done a lot of work towards that. So I've now raised just over 7,500 for the run.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really proud.
Yeah.
Hey, really
Wow.
proud of that. And so, yeah, that will go to however Small Steps for Henna need to use it to keep people safe from abusers.
That's amazing. That's okay. Wow, see, look what you're doing.
I'm really proud of that one.
good.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be good. The run will be great.
So what's your plan logistically speaking I'm not going to call it a race, for the run. What's the up and back is how far?
So I made my own little loop. So it's about 11.5K for one loop.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, just up and down, up and down.
So
but you know me, I like a lap.
I'm a loop now I'm a loop person.
Yeah.
Like doing the 12-hour, what was at Tagulawa. You know, that's my sort of
That's
race.
a tough one.
I don't like that, but I'm going back there again. But I'm liking loops.
Yeah.
I'm really liking loops at the moment because it's the same thing. I can sort of zone out, get it done.
Yeah.
So what's your plan with this? You know, are you gonna stop every couple hours? You're just gonna do it?
I'm just gonna run at a comfortable pace and just see what happens.
Like 10. Yeah. How far do you reckon you?
It's difficult to say because people will be running with me at different times, so they will be setting the pace.
Yeah.
I'll get over 100 miles.
100 miles?
Yeah.
Go 100
at least. I'd like to crack 200K.
Fuck.
But you know, who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's just like, and it comes back like to that balance. Like, how are you balancing? Like, how do you balance? What is balance?
What is balance? It probably isn't a thing in my life, actually.
Is it like you give more energy to one thing one week, or you give more energy to something?
I think I've just become really good at compartmentalizing. So I can go, okay, onto this thing now, and I'm just on that thing, and then I move on to the next thing. But what a lot of people don't know about me, they will now, is I am ADHD and autistic.
What?
So, yeah.
Wow.
Surprise.
Oh, whoa.
And I think that is a superpower.
Yeah.
I think that's part of why I can do all of the things.
It's funny you say that because I was been watching this, I wouldn't call it series, but with autism. And I don't know too much about it. I'm not going to pretend I know anything. But they're now saying it is a superpower, especially when it comes to endurance sports, not ultras, but they just say broadly endurance sports and bodybuilding because it's tunnel vision. There's no external voice.
Well, this is the interesting thing because I'm autistic and ADHD.
They're like
I'm so I don't have so much that tunnel vision that you're talking about. I'm more on the ADHD side where there is constant stuff going on. Constant. Like I could walk into a room and I could know everything that's going on in the room immediately. That kind of thing. That's how it's a superpower. But with racing, ultras, I don't get bored.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of my mental toughness from that because I just simply don't get bored. There's always something I can, just be really happy in my own head. There's always stuff going on.
So getting into the ultras and, you know, you just said then mental toughness, what is, there's so many different definitions to each person.
There is.
But for you, what's mental toughness like?
Resilience, not giving up, fighting, being strong. Yeah. Just not being defeated.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got a lot of shit going on in our lives, heavy stuff, some of us. Don't let it defeat you. Like mental toughness is continually showing up.
And how do you train that?
I think it comes down to the whole I wasn't given a choice. So I just did. I keep thinking about that whole thing, and I would not wish that on anybody. And you know, you went to hell and you've come back, and you know, it seems that you're doing these amazing things. And what I want to ask now is, like, with everything that's gone on, you know, how are you in those darker moments now? Like, you were talking about the waves of grief, and they come back. Oh, let me rephrase. How, and I know you say that, you know, that they pass, but
it's different for everyone. And
Yep.
for the women out there now that have been through something like that, what is something you can give them, or to men as well, to anyone that's gone through something as traumatic as that? What is something you can give them that's going to help them push through or get through when it gets really, really dark?
I'm really lucky in that I have a few people who love me fiercely. So when I go into that dark place, or if something happens to me or anything, I just know I'm okay, because there are people who won't let me fall now. You know, like Leah, like you obviously see a lot of Leah on my profile. You know, like just you need to have just a couple, you don't have to have a lot, like really important people who will be there to catch you and guide you, and everything will be okay.
And like, again, that community, and I think that's maybe like it's making, I'm just trying to put the picture in my head, like for you, you know, the community behind Backyard Ultras.
It's a great community.
And you run, you come back, and it's the same people there, and they're there for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the other ultras, if it's a point to point, it's all spread out.
That's right.
But you keep coming back. What do they say? Like common unity, community. So you come back, and it's the same thing again and again and again, and it's
exactly.
Not like this.
And, you know, you get to spend time with like Ryan Crawford or Barry Loveday, like all those guys. Like every lap, they're there starting with you again. You know, like these are incredible people that normally in a point-to-point you would not get time with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why it's such a great format. Like you could chat to someone different every loop.
Yeah.
Tell you what I did do. Did you see I just crewed Ryan Crawford for 60 hours in a Backyard Ultra?
Was that you at Oxley?
Clint Eastwood.
Jesus Christ. I did not know. See, I'm learning more.
Yeah, so I crewed Ryan for 60 hours, and because it's a Backyard Ultra, you don't get to rest. So he goes out on his loop, and so I'm tidying up the mess we've created from that last time he's come in.
And he's back in 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's back in 10 minutes. And I'm like getting his food ready for the next time he comes back, like his hot soup and all that, and laying out fresh clothes for him. And then I would set my alarm for like 10 minutes, and I'd lay down, and then it would go off. And then it'd be back up, and I'd be waiting at the finish line for him to walk him back to the tent. Like it was an incredible experience.
I don't think people realize when they say, like, you get a friend or something that goes, "Oh, I'll crew you for this race." I don't think you realize what that actually means.
Yeah.
Like, I need you on.
Yeah.
So with especially Ryan, like, what's he like in those later hours? You know, 55 coming into that 60. I've heard some fucking horrendous, like, good stories.
Yeah, I have some good stories, but I'm not going to share them. Only because
he fascinates me.
He's so fascinating. Yeah, and like I don't want to give away any of his secrets.
Yeah, no, don't go into the secrets or anything like that.
Yeah, but like, it's like, and you would love this, watching someone from the start, like just that interactions and their mental capacity, and then to 60 hours later, it's a really interesting thing to watch.
Like me at the end of the 48, I was fucked.
Yeah.
Like if that, like what's 60? That's nearly 3 days.
Yeah, we started night 3. Yeah.
Like 48.
Yeah.
I was done. I actually got proper sleep.
Yeah.
Like I got 6 hours of sleep in that whole thing as well.
There was no sleeping in this 60
but
hours.
I don't, like, what are these guys doing? Like, are they fully having a lie down sleep?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. So Ryan would come back specifically on night loops. He would come back, and I'd feed him. He'd lay down, and I said to him, "I'm going to leave, and I'll be back at 55, meaning 5 minutes to the hour." And then, so I'd set my alarm, and then it would go off, and then I'd unzip the tent again and be like, "Time to wake up." And sometimes you'd just hear, "Fuck."
Oh, really?
It's really funny.
Yeah.
But good to know, like, that they're human too. Like, You know, we don't always see that side of them.
Yeah, I guess it's that social media thing, the double-edged sword. Like you only see the important parts, the highlight reel.
But also because I'm usually racing him, so I'm usually turning up in the starting corral and he turns up looking ready to fight. So I miss all those behind-the-scenes bits to see that these guys are actually human.
Because you see him and you go like, you always aspire to be like Ryan Crawford with his mental capacity. But then, you know, I would always pull on that on the big races and be like, oh, what would Ryan Crawford do? And he'd just get up and do it.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's what there were times where he didn't want to keep going, but he would actually say, but we just keep going. And I'm like, yeah, we do. Yep.
He's just like, it's insane. So to sort of like land this, I usually I'm done with this. Is like the first one I've done back in the studio for ages. So what is something that you want my audience and the world to know about you? Can be anything.
Oh, that's very broad. I don't know, just I guess one important thing, especially like all this work that I've been doing with, you know, Small Steps for Hannah around abuse, just be kind to each other, guys, and don't believe everything you hear or see, because maybe it's not true. Yeah, just be kind. And I will say it has been quite an interesting social experiment since I've been advocating against domestic violence. So you've kind of got the people in the middle who are indifferent to what you're doing, and then you've got the people over here who have probably experienced it or seen it, who reach out and are really supportive and share their story. But then there's this other subgroup over here who, and even though you're not calling them out, it's like they feel called out. So that's been really interesting. And I know you love like psychology stuff. So yeah, that's been quite interesting. So I guess, yeah, just be kind.
Be kind.
Yeah, just be kind.
And what is your message to, and again, like it's a mental health podcast basically. What's your message to anyone out there that is suffering, that is going through hell, has been through hell?
Well, having been there myself, everything will be okay. It may not feel like it right now, but it will be, and it will pass, and you will be happy again. You will. But you probably won't continue to always be happy. You might go back down that dark hole again, but you will always come out, especially if you surround yourself with the right people.
What is it like? Life is literally like a ultra marathon.
It is, and it's ebb and flow. It's ebb and flow.
It is so up and down. You know, you've just got to manage the lows.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's it. You manage the lows and enjoy the highs when they come.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time. Like, it's a lot, I know, and I really appreciate you actually taking the time to do this, because you know, you live in Brizzy, and I guess you got the hotel room and that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a lot of effort to come down and sit down to talk to me about some heavy shit.
Yeah. But I think it's important. It's important stuff.
It's important stuff, but you know, that's a lot to share, especially on a podcast platform. I think my audience will really appreciate you opening up like that. And I think there's a lot of value in what you've just said. Like, you've experienced fuck, I could not imagine going through. I just can't. I can't imagine that. And yeah, I just thank you so much for doing this.
You'll have to come and do a backyard ultra with me this year.
I don't know about this year.
Yeah, come on.
Where?
Come and do the AAA Racing Teams event.
When's that?
It's mid-October. Just join my team. It'll be great. We'll have fun.
That means I have to run.
It'd be great.
I'll talk to I'm getting coached by Adzi Gordon.
Oh yeah, Adzi Gordon. Yeah.
So it's all up to him really. He sort of dictates whether I race or not. I'm doing the coastal high 50.
Oh yeah.
But I'm doing it with a mate who hasn't run all year. Yeah. So it might take 8 hours.
When is that?
2nd of September, Saturday.
Yep.
It's a weird one. You got to start at like 3:45, get a bus from Nerang all the way up to Binnaburra and then run back down. So we'll see how I go. I'm taking it slow. I'm taking it easy.
Yeah.
But
that'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
And then you can come do the...
No, maybe. But yeah, thank you for doing this and I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Peace.
Thank you.